me right. I think about it day and night. I feel like a king, oh yeah. I'm ready, can't help but stand. Such a rush, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, guys and dolls, cats and chicks, you're listening to Viva ENT, Rock, Pop, and Soul. I'm your host today, Devin the Video Dude.
Hey, video dudes, where are you?
I'm on my way to the next show. And with so many talented musicians in the Pacific Northwest, I have the pleasure to have James Howard on the line. Say hi to Seattle and the world, James.
Hello, Seattle and the world.
And I have the greatest producer under the sun. It's Eric.
Hey, it's Eric. CC Reidar.
Right on.
You guys are funny.
And before we get started, we got to talk about the Viva ENT Rock, Pop, and Soul Facebook page. And the group is getting bigger by the day, over 1,500 members. And my YouTube channel, Devin Creisler Studios, where I have over 3,000 videos and over 2,500 subscribers. So thank you to each and everyone that is subscribed and check out the great videos, such as James. I have some of your videos from the Royal Room August 6th. That was a fun show. Yeah. You have upcoming shows, I've heard.
Yeah, well, I'm actually doing a show out in Wenatchee on Saturday. It was kind of a last-minute booking at the Redneck Days, which I'm really not much of a redneck, but I'm willing to learn. That was a joke. I know it wasn't very funny, but where else are we playing? We've been going down to Richland. We're playing at a venue called Chemo's in Richland on September 24th. And then I'm looking at my calendar here. And then in October, we have a tour we're doing at the end of October. We're going back out to the Western Loop a little bit. We went last April. We went to Oregon, Idaho, Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, Arizona. So we're gonna take a trip back to Moab, Utah, which is a really fun place we played at, where they have the Arches National Park.
So you're doing a North American tour, it sounds like. That's awesome.
Well, we're trying to get out of Seattle just because I've been feeling a bit root bound for years. You know, the kind of like you put a tree in a pot and it can only grow so tall, but if you take it out, put it in the earth, the roots can spread out and it can grow taller. And that's kind of a thing, you know. If you just play around where you live, your career can't really grow very much. You have to get out in the world and have people get a chance to hear you play in other regions. And so I've been doing that. But really, I kind of settled in Seattle in 2001 with really the intent of just basically stopping sort of touring and trying to chase after the music business and all that, and just really regenerating my body and practicing spirituality, meditation, and just learning how to serve communities and not really sort of chasing after the business part. And I settled into that. And it was really good for me. I had some health issues that I'm much healthier now, and I'm kind of at this point now where I'm ready to kind of move out to the world with what I'm doing. And really, I've gotten better at what I do, so that's a cool thing.
Oh yeah, you have really great talent. When I went and saw you, I was a lot of influences, like maybe like Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan, or who were some of your inspirations for your music?
Yeah, well, I think Jimi Hendrix had a huge impact on me when I saw a film at the kind of midnight theater place where I used to live in Fremont, California. It was actually Jimmy Plays Berkeley. I don't know if you ever seen that film or heard the album that was released on that. I used to have the album also. Have you ever heard of that film?
I haven't. I'll have to check this out.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's basically just a concert of him playing what looks like kind of a school gymnasium or something, that kind of that room. And it just blew my mind because I hadn't really heard him. I may have heard some of his music on record by then because I was buying rock records by that point too. But he just blew my mind, and there was something about the way he played that had this kind of wild energy that was mesmerizing. Oh, and it was kind of funny. On that bill was the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was the first run of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That movie had just come out back then. So we're talking like 1976.
Oh wow! Were you throwing a toast at the screen? Did you saw it in the theaters?
No, because it was the very begin. It was like the first time that movie had ever come out.
So it was before the cult following.
It was before the cult following had developed. Exactly.
Wow.
It was co-billed with this Jimi Hendrix movie. Yeah, Jimi Hendrix was a big influence. And then really all the rock music I was excited about. I was excited about Kiss. I think the very first album I bought was Black Sabbath's Paranoid, rock album when I was a teenager. I bought other albums when I was preteen, like The Carpenters and Jesus Christ Superstar and stuff like that. 8-track tapes, actually, they were back then. I had an 8-track tape player in my bed. I had a bedroom set that had a little corner table with 2 beds that kind of went in on each side. It was an 8-track player actually built into it. So I was buying
state of the art.
Yeah.
And you were listening to Pink Floyd, I guess, too.
Well, I hadn't gotten into Pink Floyd and then later I did. Yeah. Oh, David Gilmour, he's one of my favorites. I mean, I could just list basically every rock guitar player that came out in the 60s and 70s, all the greats, and say that, yeah, I was listening to records and picking up off records and trying to learn all their solos. And that's really kind of how I taught myself. I did take a few lessons in the beginning, but really it was mostly self-taught, just listening to records. Santana, Neil Schon, Michael Schenker, Ted Nugent, Richie Blackmore. And then later on, Eric Johnson and Joe Satriani, those guys caught my attention. And then jazz players like Pat Metheny and Larry Carlton, fusion players, those guys too. And I was trying to learn how to play outside. That's one of the things that I'm kind of proud of that I can now do a little bit of, which is hit notes that are outside of the key strategically in the right spots where they sound musically mysterious. Where the listener might be, whoa, that was kind of an interesting note. It sounds cool. If you do it right, it sounds mysterious and interesting. If you do it wrong, it sounds like, oh, that guy seems like he's, and he's lost his place there. He's playing outside. He's playing the wrong note. If you do it wrong, it sounds like you're playing wrong notes. If you do it right, it sounds mysterious and it pulls you in. Like, oh, especially if you're a musician. I was always like that. Like I would hear a note outside of the key done in a unique way that sounded cool. And then I wanted to grab my guitar and figure out what the heck was that note and why did he use that and how did he use that and
replay the record.
What's the strategy behind that? Because there is a strategy behind it.
Yeah, you have some wild solos. You got to meet Johnny, usually the host for Viva ENT, because you guys would have a great jam session, I feel.
Oh yeah, Johnny's a guitar player.
Yeah, he does like wild solos like you too. He's got some original music, so you guys collaborated sometime. That would be pretty epic.
Yeah, the wild solos, that's definitely my sweet spot where I get to to commune with the other side and share the music. Kind of what it is, because you're kind of co-creating with cosmic forces behind, because it's moving so fast through you, right?
Yeah, there is something really cosmic and a lot of magical energy coming off you. My favorite song of you is you wrote is Egyptian Writings. I think I feel a song coming on. Are you ready to listen to that?
Yeah, let's listen to that.
And yeah, I'd like to hear the whole thing.
Okay, awesome.
I climbed the mountain to see what I could see. A fire burning deep inside me. Ask the wise man, what does it mean to be free? I saw a vision, a man beneath a tree. like to hear, to truly hear the voice that always knows, to occupy the field. I heard the music, the song that no one sings. I climbed the mountain to pour the blackest tea. Egyptian writings leading back to me.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Wow. So what is like the meaning behind that song?
Okay, so that song has a really interesting story that's kind of a little bit cosmic, a little bit woo-woo. So that was written in 1996, and a lot of my songs come out of sleep, or I wake up with ideas, and I've learned to respect that's those ideas, and get up out of bed and record them. Back then, I would record them on a cassette tape. Now I do it on my voice recorder on my phone. Write down whatever I have. Maybe there's some lyrics to write down. Maybe there's chord progression to write down. But the most important thing is to record it, because it's kind of like, you know how sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night with this amazing dream you're having, and you're like, wow, I really should write that down, or I'll remember it in the morning, and you're too lazy to get up out of bed. Then you wake up in the morning and you can't remember any of it.
You got to write it down. Yeah, definitely.
So music's like that. If you don't, although I have to say, songs revisit me. So even sometimes I'll record a song that came to me in the night, but I won't develop it. It'll just be there recorded, but then like a month or two later, the same song will come to me. It's kind of like saying, hey, you didn't do anything with that. Here, let's give this one to you again or something. Kind of strange, but because I'll record the same song and I'll realize, oh wow, I find the same song twice in my database of recordings. So anyway, so I got up. It was about midnight. I got up. I was married at the time to Rebecca. We're no longer married, but we were married then. And I got up in the middle of the night. It came down, and that song basically just, the whole song just came out all at once. All the words, all the chords. And when I did the guitar solo part, I sang the beginning of the guitar solo part as I was playing the chords. So I try to do that as much as possible. I try to sing my guitar solo parts. That's David Gilmour does that. That's why his playing is so melodic. And so, his solos almost sound like they're compositions more than improvisations, because the way they track the chord, it's like a singer singing to the guitar. He's like that. Gilmour's like that. Santana's like that too. Guitar players who phrase with lots of space, where their playing sounds more like they're composed melodies and things. They're usually, that's kind of the secret to that style of playing. All jazz players know this too. You actually sing it from your belly into the notes. So I did that night. I did actually, the beginning part of the guitar solo was also created the same night.
Well,
the interesting part was, it all happened in about half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting part was that my wife came down about 12:30. She woke up kind of bleary-eyed saying, I saw you weren't in bed. I was wondering where you went. And she came down. So it was like a half an hour. 12:30 is what it's what it seemed like. I kind of remember looking at the clock and then her coming down and that's it. But then something weird happened. We were standing there and we both said, "Did you feel that?" And we both said back to each other, "Yeah, did you feel that?" Something that was really weird. We both had this very strange feeling. And then we went back upstairs to go to bed and we looked at the clock. It was 3:00 in the morning.
This time, melted, transformed.
So we had some weird, there's stories about like people being abducted by aliens and having missing time and whatever. We never had anything that would say something like that happened, but there was definitely something weird that happened. Then the other part about this story, the other interesting part is that I had this whole spiritual breakthrough experience that happened really kind of like late 1999 into 2000. And I ended up leaving where I lived in Benicia, California, putting all my stuff in storage and going up to the Mount Shasta, where I spent a week up at 8,500 feet, right at the tree line.
Wow.
In a little tent, in a little one-man tent. I was up there for a week by myself, and I had this whole spiritual experience, and these spiritual beings appeared to me, and this whole thing happened. And in a way, the lyrics to that song are kind of speaking to that. I had written 4 years earlier. I climbed the mountain to see what I could see, a fire burning deep inside of me. I asked the wise man, what does it mean to be free? I saw a vision, a man beneath the tree. So that's the whole meditation thing, which is something that I got into very deeply that led to a lot of the regeneration of my health later on. So about 2002, I started going to those 10-day silent Vipassana meditation retreats, and I went to 19 of those between 2002 and 2019. I haven't been to one since before the pandemic, but I'm planning on going to another one.
Yeah, because I could have sworn it was like a cover, because I was editing like the concert, like song by song, and I was like what song is this? It's like I thought it must be a cover, but it's like, oh, you wrote this. Wow, yeah, this is very special. Did you write When I Dream About You in a dream as well, or?
Okay, so When I Dream About You actually came from a writing partnership that I was involved in around that time. And it was actually with my roommate. I owned a house. So let me think. So it was When I Dream About You. Let me think about that. So in 1996, yeah. So I wrote Egyptian Writings in '96, and my wife and I separated not long after that. So fast forward. Let me think. When did I write When I Dream About You? I guess that was before 1998, because that's when the album came out, Electric Rain. Yeah. So When I Dream About You, I think was kind of more around 1990. I want to say before Egyptian Writings, definitely. Because by that point my wife was actually, we were living together in the house, and prior to that I rented out the rooms. I had this house and I rented out rooms in Benicia, and one of my roommates was a guitar player, and he he wanted to take guitar lessons from me because I'm a guitar teacher. That's
Oh yeah,
I
like a lesson from you too, man.
back then I was teaching full time, and out of my house, and so he actually traded me. He gave me a 1965 Martin D18 guitar in trade for 9 months of lessons.
Wow.
And what ended up happening in the lessons is that the lessons kind of turned into basically songwriting, where we were basically writing songs together. He would have songwriting ideas, but they were unfinished. They were just little bits and pieces. And then I would basically finish them, or we would, co-write them together. So it ended up turning into this co-writing thing where we wrote about 40 songs together.
Wow.
During that 9-month period where he was taking lessons from me. And some of those songs ended up on the CD. That's one of them. So yeah, that was co-written with him, that song, When I Dream About You.
And this is the most popular song on your Spotify, and you're on Apple Music, and
yeah, which is interesting. Yeah, and I think it's a cool song. I think it's got some magic to it. I notice when we play it live, people always respond to it really nicely.
Could we hear that, Eric? When I Dream About You. It's actually the next track after Egyptian Writings, so it's going right into it. So yeah, let's take a listen.
Okay, great.
Yesterday I held on. Today my girl is gone. The thought of you is filling my mind. You and me together in time. When I dream about you, why did you run away? Left me a note that didn't say. How could I be so wrong to fool myself for so long? When I dream about you, I'm lost in how I feel. When I dream about you, I know my love is real. Yesterday I held on. Tonight my girl is gone. It's getting late, I turn out the light. I close my eyes, but can't catch you out of my sight. When I dream about you, I'm lost in how I feel. When I dream about you, I know my love is real. When I dream about you, remember how I feel. When I dream about you, I know my love is real.
Yeah, that was really fun. It's a great song.
Thank you.
So it was a co-collaboration one on your album.
Yeah, Bob Mapes was the fellow who I co-wrote that with too. Interestingly enough, I can't find these days.
Huh.
I can't find him on Facebook. I can't find him on the internet. I don't know where he is. He
Well, if you're out there listening, yeah, come.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say his name and let people know that I'm actually kind of looking for him. He disappeared.
Wow. Do you have anyone you would like to collaborate with in the future? That like a dream collaboration?
Say that because I'm actually going to. Lynn Sorensen and I have started a project that we're calling Rainbow Gutter, which is like a nod to the light and the shadow that is the human experience. Rainbow Gutter, and he's a bass player. I don't know if you know him. He used to play with Bad Company. That's kind of his claim to fame. Paul Rogers.
Oh wow!
12 years. So he's kind of a rock star. He's toured the whole world and played all the big stadiums and venues. And a great player, great singer, really nice guy. And him and Doug McGrew, which is a drummer, they host jam nights around Puget Sound. They do one in Dawson's on Wednesday night, which I actually hosted last night because they're out of town. And they do a place called Twin Dragon in Duval. And I've been, they hire guest host guitar players for those. You're probably familiar with that format, the jam night format, where there's like a bass player and a drummer. Like there's one up at the Madison Pub that's been going on for years and years and years. So it's usually a bass player and a drummer. And then they have guest host professional guitar players from the Puget Sound area that come and play the first hour with them. And then people sign up and then get a chance to go up and play.
Oh yeah, they do that. Queen Anne Beer Hall. Yeah, they have like a open mic night.
Queen Anne Beer Hall, they're doing that. Yeah, with Manuel.
Yeah,
Manuel. Yeah, Manuel does. It's another one of the guitar players who regularly works with Lynn and Doug. He's a great player. I love Manuel.
And tonight at the Vessel Tap House, there's a new music showcase. So yeah, come check it out.
I've noticed that too. Yeah, they crop up. They're really, really popular because, there's a lot of people out there who don't get a chance to be professional musicians, and it's it's hard to get gigs.
All right, I've played a couple open mics, but
get gigs, let alone people who aren't pros. And it's hard to put together bands. It's hard to get gigs. There's a lot more musicians who would like to do that, but just can't find their way into making that happen for themselves. And they can show up at jam nights and get up and play with professional musicians, play in front of an audience, and it's a great community service and great community building experience. And and it's kind and generous because there's no judgment. It's not about, are you perfect at what you do, or are you a pro at what you do? It's more just an opportunity to get up and do it at whatever level you're at. And the support from the musicians hosting it, the support from the people there is always loving and appreciative, and there's no judgment. So that's kind of a nice thing too, to have opportunity like that in society, instead of having music performance just closed off to only the absolute pros get to do it and everyone else just can't do it at all, right?
Yeah, I go around and I have so many friends with so many bands, and that's like my biggest problem right now. There's too many shows each night. I have to be picky. Which one am I going to? Like tonight, I'm seeing Korn and Evanescence, but alternatively, I could have gone to that, like the songwriting showcase up at Vessel, or there's Plaid Pig, Moopsie's playing, Speedball Devils, 21 Day Coma. This weekend there's a Washed in Black at the Pearl Jam tribute.
Nice.
But I'm seeing Jericho Hill, Atrocity Girl at the Tony V's Garage, and then the next night I'm working Jackson Brown at the San Michelle Winery. So
I've heard about that show.
Yeah,
awesome.
And that's the night you're going to be playing in Wenatchee.
Yeah.
And then Roger Walters is also playing that night at the Tacoma Dome.
Oh, right. Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to miss that.
I'm sorry, I'm going to miss that too. I'm going to be at Jackson Brown, but hey, I mean, that's a good time too. So I'm sorry, I'm going to miss your show too.
With who was it? It was Bonnie Raitt and Keb Mo years ago. Probably around 2000. I don't know. I want to say 3 or 4, somewhere in there. They played at one of the theaters that's at the Seattle Center. What a great show. Yeah, that's fun. It's so much fun to see those iconic artists like that playing that wonderful music, like Roger Waters, Jackson Brown. Oh my God, I love going to concerts. I've always been a lover of concerts since I was a kid. I still love it.
Oh, what are some of the best
really
concerts you've
with
attended?
The amount of music you go and see and videotape, it's really quite epic, really, what you do.
Oh yeah, it's of my goal is 100 concerts this year. I'm up to 117. So
that's amazing. That's really beautiful. It's, I mean, that's so appreciated by musicians like me when there are people like you who have such a devotion to the music scene like you with what you do. It's awesome.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Trying to document it because otherwise the energy just kind of dissipates, and I'm just trying to capture it.
Yeah.
So. What's some of the best concerts you've attended over the years?
Oh, okay. So I have some really interesting ones. Well, one of the things is that I used to do. Well, I was in a band called Champion when I was 17, and we played. One of the shows we played was with a band called Trauma, who had Cliff Burton was in that band. He and I were friends. We grew up in the same area. Cliff Burton's the original bass player from Metallica, and we used to play house parties together. We would me and him get a drummer and just go jam. We wouldn't even play songs. We would just improvise because he was such a virtuoso bass player. So we would just feed off each other, and he was great fun. But he played in a band called Trauma, and that band Champion. The lead singer for Champion, Mick Jones is his name. He worked for Bill Graham Presents. He eventually became the office manager at Bill Graham Presents. But back then, when we played in the band together, he was a blue coat for Bill Graham blue coat security. He did security, and he got the whole band jobs doing security. So I was doing, I would do a whole Grateful Dead run and doing security at the Greek Theater or something, where I'd see all 10 of their shows all in a row or something. But I saw a lot of bands that I probably wouldn't have gone to see at that time, and that I wasn't really that into. But it was just, I'm really glad I had a chance to see them. It was kind of fun. Bands like Wham or Talking Heads or
cool
Persons, where sometimes I'd get like Talking Heads. I got the mixer board, which was the best security position because I just got to sit on the mixer board next to Bill Graham and chatting with him. And of course, nobody gets up on the mixer board, so nothing ever happens. You just sit there and watch the show from the best seat in the house and get paid for it. So that was kind of a fun thing.
Oh yeah, I love running sound. I love because I'm a stagehand too, so I run sound for things and like conventions.
Yeah,
and stuff,
how that's kind of a cool thing to just be around that scene, and especially it's a job, but you're also in the scene watching stuff and being able to experience it up close. And that's always cool. But let me think. So back in when I first started going to concerts, they had these Day on the Greens where they would have these lineups of bands all in a row. Where you'd get to see, like I saw Journey and Santana and Jeff Beck and Tower of Power and Boz Scaggs,
wow,
and Nils Lofgren, all in one show, all one after the other. And then another one was Van Halen open. It was 1978. Van Halen just came out. It was Van Halen, AC/DC, Pat Travers, Foreigner, and Aerosmith all on the same show.
What a dream lineup!
Yeah, on the day they would play it where the Oakland A's play in the big open air stadium. I saw Pink Floyd there twice in that big stadium. So that was kind of cool to be able to go to these big shows and see all these bands all in a row like that, all playing on the same.
Because now it's like two bands. Like I saw Journey and Toto at the Climate Pledge Arena. It's like they maybe have one or two openers, but like tonight I'm seeing Evanescence and Korn, so that should be interesting.
And they still tried. Like, what was it? Just last week they had what was it? It was like Def Leppard and Motley Crue and Poison and Joan Jett. So they still do these multi-band tours are still going on, right? I mean, it's kind of a thing still.
Pain in the Grass had a big lineup. It was like all after like 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Like Glenn Cannon, The Damage Done, like Sammy Hagar, Wyatt Oley and the Wreckage.
Right, I saw that.
Alice in Chains.
That's still happening. So, it's very cool. But I mean, I've seen some really cool shows. Like I saw John McLaughlin play at the Stone, which was really a unique show to go see. I used to really like to go see Steve Morse and the Dixie Dregs. I don't know if you're familiar with that music.
No, I'll have to check it out.
You have to check it out. He was one of those guys who, being a guitar player, guitar teacher, I would subscribe to all the guitar magazines. There was, first of all, just Guitar, and then there was Guitar World, Guitar Player, Guitar World, Guitar for the Practicing Musician. And he was winning the contest. They had a contest every year. Guitar player was kind of the first one that was featured guitarist, and he would win for the best overall guitarist because on his albums he was writing instrumental music that spanned all the genres. There would be, you know, bluesy, rock, country-ish, you know, bluegrass stuff. There would be, you know, kind of experimental. He would do a classical guitar piece always on it. So he was just this amazing guitar player who could play every style, and that was one of the things that have always been a multi-style player. Even though I like to serve communities, and I've been involved in the Blues Society. I had a church gig that I did for many years, and you know, being able to serve communities is one thing. You know, like the Blues Society is a community. So when you show up for their things, you show up, like we won in 2016. We won the local contest where they sent us to Memphis to go compete internationally for the International Blues Challenge. And when you do those things, of course, you have to play blues, right? That's what they're about.
Yeah,
I understand. It's kind of like if you enter a apple pie contest, you know, you got to bring an apple pie. You don't bring a pecan pie. You bring an apple pie. So I've always, I can serve a community. I can go and play all blues at a Blues Society thing, but I've never been any kind of a purist of a genre or a style. And I think when you listen to my recorded music, you can kind of hear, or when you see me live, you can kind of hear that I've dipped my toe into lots of different genres, and I mix them all together in my playing.
Yeah, you're definitely a bunch of different genres.
Probably, if you had to pick one, would you say rock would be it, or what would you say if you had to pick? If you had to nail me down to one genre, what genre would you call it?
Well, so looking at what I recorded of you, you played Hallelujah and like Into the Open Road. Then you played Johnny Be Good, like Voodoo Chili. Mary Had a Little Lamb, Cold Shot, Pride and Joy, Purple Rain, Black Magic Woman, Cashmere, The Greatest Love, and Foxy Lady. So I would say more rock and roll, at least what I saw of you.
Yeah, it's more rock and roll. Now you came, so
I missed the first half of your show.
Yeah, I front load the night with all original stuff. So I usually play an hour of all original material, and then I switch it over to covers just because, well, in a club scene like that where there's people come to see an artist, they've never heard their music before. It's also nice to hear some of the cover stuff, and I do the cover stuff in my own unique way. But yeah, when you came, I think you missed you weren't able to come until.
Yeah, I had to work. Yeah, I'm like
hour.
Overwhelmed with working shows and then seeing shows every day. So
and so yeah, we still did a couple originals, like The Greatest Love, Into the Open Road is original, Greatest Love is an original, Egyptian Writings is original. Those were there when you came. So I still continue to do some originals, but you kind of came right at the cover set. But I think I'm basically a rocker at heart. I mean, that was really what turned me on when I was a kid. But the thing about rock and roll music is that, you know, originally rock and roll music was called jump blues. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
So in the 40s, rock music was called jump blues, and really the way it came about was, if you look at there was a PBS special called The History of Rock and Roll, and it blew my mind because they had what's his name, Jordan. Can't remember his first name. It'll come to me, but they really showed this artist from the 40s who was kind of the Michael Jackson of the 40s. He was really successful artist who was playing rock and roll music before Chuck Berry, before Elvis Presley, before all of that. It was fully formed, fully realized, but they didn't call it rock and roll yet. They called it jump blues. And the way it came about really was because after World War II, they didn't have the venues didn't have budgets for these big bands, right? The big bands that would come around, like the Count Basie big band and Glenn Miller big band, right? They didn't have budgets for all those people touring around. And so the musicians had to scale down their bands to the modern,
like a trio or like four instead of a big orchestra or something.
They had to scale it down to drum kit, stand-up bass, guitar, piano, saxophone. That was it, like a 5-piece like that, like what we kind of have now as sort of your typical, or your, you know, I mean, now we even got scaled down even farther. trio.
You're a trio, yeah. What I saw.
Yeah, I'm a trio, and also I do gigs with the keyboard. Also, it just depends on the gig. But yeah, I'm usually a three or four piece band. And so, but then they were still playing these same venues where people wanted to dance and all that. So they were playing this up tempo, danceable swing music, blues music that they called jump blues. But if you listen to that music, you look at it, it's rock and roll. It's basically Bill Haley and the Comets and Elvis Presley and Chuck Berry, all the stuff that came out in the 50s that they started now marketing to a wide audience, and they changed the name to rock and roll. It's really just jump blues. So it's the same. So rock and roll in a way is not really a unique style of music per se, because if you think about it, it runs a huge gamut of styles of music. Like you think of a band like Yes, and you call that rock and roll, or a band like Pink Floyd, oh, that's rock and roll.
Alternative rock, and like heavy rock, and then there's
it's just and
classical rock.
Some of it's based on European classical music with the diatonic scales and the major, the minor scales and the chord progressions, and some of it is based on blues music, which is sometimes just one chord, like Who Do You Love, right? It just doesn't even change. Or Voodoo Child's like that, one chord. That's it. Doesn't even change to another chord. Well, actually, Voodoo Child does have a B section that goes to a few other chords, but a lot of the old blues stuff, like John Lee Hooker, doesn't even change chords. It's more about the feel and the pentatonic scale and the microtonal bending and all that stuff. And so a lot of music, or I think rock and roll ultimately is a mixture of this stuff, and it's such a wide range of styles. But I think really when you think of rock music, though, you're kind of thinking more of like an attitude, right? Almost like an energy or something.
Yeah, like an Electric Rain. Do you have any other like favorite songs off that album, or
off Electric Rain?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think this would be a good time to play the song Mayan Mystery. And the reason why I say that is because the direction that I really feel like I'm going, and at this point, I think I've been somewhat of a generalist, and I think I'm moving into more of like a micro niche. I'm finding my micro niche right now, or at least I guess accepting my micro niche, which is really more of an instrumental rock guitar player, like Egyptian Writings. Because when you think of that song, Egyptian Writings, like when you came to see me, yeah, I'm singing on it. There's singing, there's words and all. But really the thing that really grabs you is the solo at the end, right?
I was impressed by the whole song, but yeah, the solo really amplified it. So,
and then I do instrumental, like I do an instrumental version of Amazing Grace. And I mean, not to say that I won't do singing or won't do songs. That's not the case. But when you think of Jimi Hendrix, when you think of Stevie Ray Vaughan, you don't think of them as these great singers, right? You think of their guitar playing. Their guitar playing is what you think. Or, instrumental guys like Joe. I don't know if you've listened much to Joe Satriani or Eric Johnson or those guys.
Oh, a bit. Yeah, they're really, they got.
So I'm kind of at this point where I'm really going to move my micro niche over a little bit more to that, featuring the guitar more so, and a little bit less of the blues stuff, and a little bit less of the. The vocals will still be there, but really the album Divachan is my favorite album of mine, which is all instrumental guitar. That album. But Mayan Mystery was the first one. So go ahead and play. I know we're running out of time. Why don't you play Mayan Mystery?
That's what we're playing now. Yeah,
Yeah.
A lot of 16th notes in that song. You're really playing the melody there.
on Chicken Lips or on My Mystery?
Oh, on My Mystery, yeah. We'll hear Chicken Lips, I guess, as a going out song here. But we've only got a few minutes left. Any shout outs, or where can we find you on social media?
Oh, well, JamesHowardMusic.com. I've got a website, and then James Howard Music on Facebook, James Howard Music on Instagram, and then I'm on Spotify. I don't use Twitter too much, although I do have an account there too. I need to start using that one. And then the other one, I have an account that I need to activate, is TikTok. And doing more videos is really something that I have an ambition to get more involved in, just because that's kind of the, doing reels. And so
you have the YouTube channel too.
Discipline to fold that into my life, my already really busy life.
Yeah, we just heard a sample of like only 3 songs out of 5 albums here, like Electric Rain from 1998, Celebrate Life from 2008, Live in Seattle Volume 1, 2011, and then you really like Devacian Live in Seattle Volume 2, and then For the Love of Song 2017.
Yeah, and I have a new one ready to go that's actually from that same period of collection of music of those instrumentals, and then I really should. It's time for me to do another studio CD as well. So we'll see what happens this year. I think this is going to be a prolific year of getting some new music out. Yeah,
it's definitely been one for the history books for me. I mean, I've seen Bob Dylan, Todd Rundgren, Daryl Hall, Paul McCartney. I'm going to go see Elton John, Ringo Starr coming up. I'm flying down to LA next week to see Rammstein. I've never been to LA. Cool. I'm going to see Universal Studios and the Wax Museum. There's just so much on the books this year. I don't know if I'll continue this mojo next year, but I feel it's going to keep perpetuating of cool things to do. Awesome. Yeah. So,
well, thanks for having me on your radio show. This has been fun.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Yeah. I appreciate you taking the time and talking about your career and your method and all your great music.
Yeah.
Do you have any last minute shout outs or anything, like your other bandmates?
Well, shout out to Kevin Cook, who's the really awesome drummer that has been working with me, and Frank Coleman's been playing keys with me again. And we're actually looking for a bass player, because you saw us playing with Evan, and Evan's a superstar in his own right with his the emissary of Avant. Let's see, how does he put it? Emissary of Avant Soul Pop. And we had the good fortune of having him play with us on tour last April. But his career is taken off, and he's so busy. But we're actually looking for a bass player. So put a shout out to any pro bass players out there looking for an awesome gig. We're definitely right now. I've been dipping into the the mercenary sideman bass player scene in Seattle, which there's a lot of great ones, but we're looking for more of a regular guy. So put that out there as well.
I can think of a few bass players I know. But
nice. Any recommendations would be great.
Yeah. And then on the 18th at Tractor Tavern, I'm seeing Sean Hayes with the Jaws of Brooklyn. And thank you, JD, for again giving me free tickets. He's been giving me like free tickets every month because he does the Do 206 subscription. So definitely something to look into.
Well, thanks for what you do, Devin. You're a great service to the music community in Puget Sound area.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to what tomorrow brings because I'm getting my new iPhone 14 Pro Max with 48 megapixel camera. So my quality should just improve with that. So
nice.
So next time I catch you, it should even look better. So
awesome.
Well, I guess we're going to finish the show out with Chicken Lips. Eric, you've been kind of quiet this show. Any shout outs for you? Anything like you have your podcast you're doing? And
yeah. Well, you know, like you said, go see live music. I think if you can make it out, there's so much going on. It's great to do. And I will give a shout out for Don't Ask Me to Talk Thursdays at 3:00 on Kixie and wherever you find podcasts.
And this will also be replayed in Ocean Shores on a radio station on Tuesday as well. So have a great evening.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Tune in next week.